Hello. So, welcome to a bit of a rant style video where I would like to discuss a small bit. The new procedural animation system introduced into Resonite in the newest update. Personally, don't really like it. So this is going to be a bit of probably a bit of a rant style video that I will more than likely get quite a bit of hate for. So to get ahead of the hatred right now, 300 dislikes, and I'll make a ref hacking video. Yippee. There you go. There's a little threat for you. Yeah. Bit of a fun one. Um, so, I was away for a little bit, and when I came back, I have missed the update of the addition of the procedural animations being added to Resonite by roughly a week, maybe a little bit more. I'm not 100%, but roughly a week. And so I was kind of looking forward to coming and experiencing this because I had been following its development now a small bit, and I often just called it just like Happy Wheels style animations because that's what it looked like to me. And right now you can see my avatar moving. I'm guessing is to mimic breathing. This to me looks a lot like Deus Ex style breathing from like the 90s. I just want to do a quick side profile, and here's what the avatar kind of looks like on the side, and you can just see now, once upon a time, the arms are straight. More or less straight anyway. There was always a slight bend. But now the bend in the elbows is quite extreme. It's about 90 degrees, which way too much for somebody standing there idle, I think, unless they have like unless they're just some people have like what's I think it's dubbed raptor arms, where they have this habit of just kind of holding their arms at a 90-degree angle. Um, but other than that, for standing perfectly still, I don't think it's necessary. Um, oh, I almost gave everything away there, didn't I? Just for a second. So, I hopped into the game after the first time in a while, only to move left and right and witness this in front of a mirror. Yeah, this is just the leg, just every now and again jiggling outside, just like ugh, ugh. Just what is this? I'm sorry. What is this? Move forward. Yeah, this is amazing. Move backwards. You can see like the avatar's legs glitching out there. The I think it's called the gate on the arms is just a bit weird. I think it's slightly too slow by the looks of it. I'm not 100%. But either way, it's far too exaggerated. Everything is a little bit too exaggerated, and I would imagine whatever default values would be for kind of running around would be quite tame, quite muted. And instead, what we have is this kind of over the top jiggling, right? Floating around some public worlds, the number one question I heard about it is how the hell do you turn it off? Fun fact, you can't turn it off. There is a button that makes it look like you could turn it off, and I'll see if I can find it real quick. So if I go into settings, controls, I think. Let me go down here and we look for something legacy. MISC then. Legacy features, here we go. Suppress feet simulation. This this is basically was added for posers, so this was mentioned in the what you call the recap stream in order to fix issues with posers, but the hopeful among you would say, ah yes, I can just turn off the new system with this. No, you cannot. All it does this. Just turns off your feet. And if you turn, your feet stay pointing where they were. And you just kind of, it's not the best terrain in the world actually to show you this. So I'm going to go out here where there's a grid. my god. Okay. So I'm going to go out here where there's a grid and just show you that, yes, the avatar is in fact moving. What is this? Yeah. Spin around, your feet stay pointing where they are. And as far as I know, this is just like a bit of a bodge fix just for some posers as a temporary solution between the posers getting updated. And for anyone wondering what the poser is it was used by people in VR that don't have full body tracking to essentially position the legs where they would want their legs. Primarily used by people in VR, but I imagine you could use it in desktop as well. No problem. The update broke those poser systems, and the button was added as a type of temporary fix. But this is the result right now. You look like yeah. It does stop the stomping issue. That's an improvement, but if your feet stay pointing the same way, that would be nice. Actually, even this, outside of the oh my god. What is this? Who thought this was a good idea? Anyway, it's fucking hilarious. That's what it is. Anyway, so we'll turn back on feet. The feet setting is now on, and the feet have now spun around, and my character stance looks a bit weird. So now we're back to walking around like this. Isn't this joyous? Wee, wee. So, in terms of like updated settings and such, ooh, we go back here to the center of this world. Here's a little tower I put in just to kind of act as the center of this world. There we go. So this version, this little kind of configurator has been made by Forgotten Sin and is distributed by a group on here. So I'm just going to equip it to this avatar, install. Oh my god, why is it so big? All right. Hand positions test on desktop, but these numbers are just kind of generic numbers as far as my understanding is, so I'm just going to apply them and we'll see how this looks. And we go back then to third person, get rid of that bendy laser, and it's better. It's definitely better. Like this is the kind of it still looks very silly with the arms swaying while running, and the legs are still broken. But yeah, to be some bit fair, the avatar's legs like this are probably harder to get working, and I would have to go tweaking the settings a lot more. But right now, this is as good as it gets outside of, I don't know, turning it off, which I cannot do, and I would like to do. Running. All right. So, to try and use something with more like normalized knees, I'm going to switch over here to this Ybot. There's nothing special about this Ybot, and it doesn't have any presets applied, so it looks really, really jank and silly, like a, I don't know, like a weird broken spider avatar or something. Or the legs are just kind of, oh my god, you can crouch. You can crouch and do this. Yippee! Yeah, the reason why I picked a Ybot is for a bit part of this example is if you go over here to home and you spawn onto full body tracker, sorry, not full body tracker, full body calibrator. Yeah, that's a Ybot right there. It's a Ybot. That's what Ybots look like. And you'd imagine like the whatever the defaults would be would actually work okay on a Ybot since that is just caked into it, but as you can see, that isn't quite true. Unfortunately. Whoop. So, we're gonna move on now to talk to this fellow, this is a Roblox style character, and he is in the Resonite Essentials folder, just in case this Ybot is janky for some weird reason. No, actually, for completeness sake, we will try applying this with whatever the default settings are. So I'm just going to go install. It's going to spawn out really big, obviously, because why the hell not? And go on desktop, first person. There we go. And other than the knees kind of... Oh, the legs are still broken. They're still kind of a little bit janky. Okay. At least it's a handy configurator. Might make life a bit easier in terms of tweaking settings. The weird feet stomping thing is still prevalent, and yeah. Okay, let's stop right here. I had forgotten to go back to the Roblox style character. Turns out that's more than likely a good thing, because that is not an official asset, which I originally thought when I spun it out, but in fact a community made asset which has been contributed to the Resonite Essentials folder. Not 100% sure why I thought it was an official asset, but whatever, we're not going to cover it. Hopefully the creator of it will have a chance to update it and have it look good with the new animation system. Now let's move on. Thank you. Yeah, I don't really understand. I'm sorry. I don't want to deal with this. I just don't want to deal with this. So, let's get into the bit of the elephant in the room here with this project, with this update. I want to switch back to my normal avatar for this part, if you don't mind. Spin around. Yeah. So the elephant in the room with this update is the fact that the update that people had voted on. So there was a survey asking the community what exactly does it want the development team to focus on, and with a percentage of let me just open up the percentage window here. It is 72%. So 72% of the people who took part in the survey, the total number of people I'm not sure. I don't see it there on the screen, but the number resulting in 72% of people is 1,854 people. That's how many people said we want the performance to be better. And the big part, there was a bit of a description talking about how the performance was going to be made better, with just kind of a rough outline and a rough plan. Just kind of, let's investigate. I don't think it was presented as a hardcore promise, more so like we will investigate this, and this is more likely to be the route forward that we will have to take regardless. So ultimately, right now, as of right now, how Resonite is built is you have Unity and you have Flux Engine, and the two, in a way, are umbilically tied. That is not entirely technically true, but for the sake of the client and for the sake of giving a simplified explanation, we are just going to say the two are umbilically tied. At least in the client side. On the headless side, which is Flux Engine without the Unity side, that essentially runs as your server, and that will run as your world. It'll just run the world on its own. It doesn't render much of anything, even if it does actually produce a frame rate instead of ticks. I'm not sure why it does a frame rate instead of ticks. Maybe it just does. Whatever. It doesn't matter. The rough plan was to essentially segment the two, the Unity and Flux Engine, in essence cutting the umbilical, letting Unity, the old version of Unity that Resonite uses, essentially sit in its own little sandbox, and the Flux Engine sit in its own little sandbox, and the two shall like communicate, I guess, by just throwing sticks at each other. I am unsure of that one. So the Unity will be running the older version of Mono, and Resonite will be using an updated version of .NET, .NET 8 instead of, I think, .NET 4 is what it sits on at the moment. The big change with that, obviously, is more than just upgrading the version of .NET. The newer versions of .NET are a little bit more optimized. They run a little bit better, because what has been done to them is a pile of work, pile of money thrown at them, and a pile of profiling to make them run well, which is very nice for people developing. Would be nice if the Resonite side felt like it had done a bit of profiling too. Just want to get that one out there. But we will see, I suppose, how everything works in terms of whenever the client gets updated. So the beginning with the most logical area, which would be the headless. That's where everything began. The headless was updated to .NET 8, and it was updated to .NET 8 fairly fast, and there was some bugs, some issues that were kind of worked out at actually quite a decent pace, to be fair. And I have no idea why my avatar is turning and falling into the ground. Why are you doing this? I let go and he turns. Why is he doing this? Anyway. Sorry, I was distracted. So, the headless has been updated, and where that has really helped is larger groups. So worlds that pull in a large number of people, like a number greater than 10, really, that's where you're going to see your difference in your updated version of .NET versus, your upgraded headless versus the previous headless. Really kind of in groups of 10 or more, I feel, just from my own experience with it. The older version kind of worked fine if it's just like you and one or two people. That did actually make a decent improvement, and it boded well for the client to get the umbilical cut and get updated. But between the headless getting updated, or maybe during while the headless was getting updated, a company has contacted, an unknown company, deliberately unknown, has contacted Resonite and apparently paid folks on an hourly basis to add this procedural animations thing. So a company paid for this. The company paid for this.
They are paying for this.
And that paused the development of the performance update, which left people quite unhappy. It left the community quite unhappy in the sense that finally the number one thing that people have been complaining about since Neos, the terrible performance, the terrible lagging, the lag spikes, that perhaps that was going to finally start getting addressed. And said no. Everything was put on halt for something a business had requested. Now, I wouldn't be against that normally in other circumstances, but a lot of it, I think, comes down to poor timing. So the survey had asked what we want. We said this, and they'd half delivered and then said, lol, we're going to do what a company paid us to do instead. Cool beans, you wait there. And that kind of just leads to the community being quite unhappy, to being asked what do you want in a survey, being promised this in an update stream, and then just getting told, lol, we need money, we are going to go to a company and go get money off of them, only for apparently the only person getting paid off of it was Frooks on an hourly basis. That was really quite annoying. And then you have this janky setup. Now, it would have been fine, maybe, if it worked. But you tell me if this works. You tell me. I don't believe it. I don't believe this works. I want to turn this off. I don't like it. So, that now has led us into the bit of the realm of where is it going to go? So, apparently, this is going to get improved quite a bit shortly, with automatic tweaking being applied and various presets as the community makes them, and this is relying on the community instead of the actual development team to create a presets for the moving around, the jumping around that looks a little bit less awful. Already, like, we've demonstrated if that the applying just this thing by Forgotten Sin has already fixed one problem with the arms of them standing at right angles when standing still, and things like that will hopefully come together to create decent packages for different types of stances and different types of things that people want. You know, some people will probably like a very burly stance, other people might want like a very thin, frail stance kind of thing. And hopefully that'll actually come together, but that is entirely relying on the community rather than the development team itself. So where else are we going? Where was I going? No, I had a bit of thought earlier, now it's gone. So the general like community reaction from what I've seen is we don't like it. Please make it go away. And other people then saying, "Don't worry, lads, it'll get better in the future." And so many people clinging to the whole "it will get better in the future" argument. I find it to be incredibly obtuse because it feels very dismissive of the actual problems people are facing, and it feels kind of dismissive to the people saying, "I have a problem with this. I don't like it. I want it to go away." And that's exactly what I am saying. Maybe with enough tweaking, enough time, it could be beautiful. Now, am I saying, does that mean what has been released is unfinished? More than likely, I hope this is unfinished anyway, because I don't want to deal with this. There, so, what does that mean then in terms of how does the development work? Is everything committed to master? No. There, you do have a pre-release channel for Resonite, and whenever there is some kind of weird change coming on, they do tend to put a little poker out to say, "Hey, we want to test something out. We want to do something." I think actually maybe the Forgotten Sin settings are making my avatar turn because my arms are facing forward, but my head is not. Okay, weird. To say, "Hey, we're messing with something and we could do feedback. Please switch, if you're up to that, please switch to the pre-release tab, the pre-release beta, and try things out." Apparently, not many people actually showed up for that, and the people then going around saying, "Oh, it'll get better in the future. Oh, look at this. Oh, it's actually fucking great," when it's not. Their argument is that if more people had shown up, these issues could have been found to begin with. And meanwhile, like, if I spawn out an updated version of this avatar, sorry, not an updated version, a non-updated version of this avatar. There we go. Boop, boop. This does not have the applied changes. Like, I don't understand how many people need to show up to say that this looks terrible. How many people do you need to show up? Did no one at all show up? Like, no one? Not even one person? Like, I don't understand. I'm sorry. Is this like the best of them? But anyway, regardless of that, it sat in pre-release for about 2 weeks, and now you have the argument from people defending this that if you had a problem with it and you wanted to help it, you probably should have shown up, and nobody did. And an attempt to like shame the community that are saying, "Yo, we don't like this, please make it go away." What I'm going to say in response to that is maybe because people wanted the performance update. Maybe people wanted that. And maybe there's a good reason to think that. And given that as soon as the procedural animations development was announced, there was backlash. Absolutely immediately. Maybe that's a clue that it was unwanted. At least for the immediate future. Yeah. That comes down to it. So, apparently in the next few days, there's going to be an update that pushes out a improvement to try and automate some of the actual motion to make it look a bit better and a little bit smoother and probably just make it less exaggerated. One thing I do hope I'll be able to turn off is the idle breathing thing, since what it's doing for me is my avatar has a HUD thing installed that I've made, and I can't read it anymore because the text is moving around. So I can't show you this, unfortunately, because what happens. Actually, I might be able to show you. What happens is the text on the bottom of the screen. Normally, that's where it's supposed to go, and what now, because it's attached to the avatar's head, and the avatar head is moving as it breathes, the text moves around, so I can't read it anymore. So I'll probably have to parent it somewhere else and move it around. Maybe there's a camera point I can put it to. Maybe there's an eye point I can put it to. And whereas the standard before was to just put it on your avatar's head, because that's where you kind of wanted it to be, so you could see it. Oh, like I want to just. This is incredibly frustrating. This is just frustrating. Like there was to be an update that was to be all nice and beautiful, and instead, like, this is what was delivered, and it looks like this. It gives the community more work to do, leans on them quite hard, and I don't know. I really don't know anymore. Like, this is just like, if I hold a tool, and you can see like the avatar's hand just open and closing ever so slightly, and every now and again maybe the fingers moving a bit. I find that weird. I don't want that. I don't want that. I don't like it. I am used to being static. Apparently, when this thing first came out, it broke some interactions because your character's hands were moving, your character's head was moving, and that was initiating scrolling on things. And oh, that's why I can't get rid of it. All right. Yeah. So sorry again. This thing. I don't know why. I I don't fully understand. I really don't. I'm sorry. I really don't fully understand what it is supposed to be the improvement here, other than it just being hysterically funny. I don't get it. So, hopefully, the business now will have, more than likely, because it's still tweaking and probably require more time and tweaking, maybe another few weeks, maybe another month. Who knows? Hopefully, in that time, it gets pretty good. Hopefully, the business got what they wanted. Hopefully, annoying the community was worth it. Um, yeah, I don't know anymore. I don't know. Yeah, I don't want to be like, I don't want to say, okay, well, I do think the timing for this was absolutely dreadful. Um, the initial implementation is bad, and it does have a little bit of promise, to be fair to it, but I would like to turn most of what it does off. And where do we go? Why do we even like? I just want an option to turn it off. I don't want it. I don't like it. I don't want to look like bloody knockoff Sonic the Hedgehog running around here. Like, it's silly. I don't want this. I wanted the performance, like many other people. I want like. I hope the business client got what they wanted, and if all is to be believed, the business client actually does have what's best for Resonite in mind, and they want what's best for Resonite as well, which is nice. I would like to point out that the community is actually paying. It is flat out giving money on Patreon to its development. I don't want anyone to go into comments and dismiss that as, oh no, those are just donations. No, 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 no. Some people are just paying for storage. Okay, that is a service. Other people are giving quite a lot of money to its straight up development. So they're a lot of quite a bit of the community is paying to its development, and you can see that I have the Patreon badge. I paid to get some extra storage. I paid to try and give it some money to help it along and give it a little bit more exposure. At first, I gave it the absolute bare minimum, because I was a bit nervous about it at first. Not gonna lie, when it first came out, I am from Neos after all. Um, but I've seen a lot of new people join. Um, and they hang around for a while. They get very impressed, and then the next time I see them, they have the Patreon badge, and they're excitedly going around saying that they're giving money to the game's development to try and make it better. And then we're asked, what do we want? We say performance, and we're told that's nice. We're going to do what a company wants instead. That so I don't see that as entirely fair. And I think anyone going into comments to say, hey, actually, the Patreon just counts as donations. Don't be so disingenuous. Just don't. It's not fair. People like the game. People give it money. People give it. People have told me how much they've given it, and they're giving it quite a lot of money just to try and help its development, just to try and give it something back. And the response of the timing and everything is just not very good. And I don't feel like there's been a lot of fairness in particular the fanboys. There's been a lot of unfairness in the haters as well. Not gonna lie, they're not gonna sugarcoat anything there. But in terms of the fanboys dismissing people as just paying on Patreon as donations, that's rude. Uh, Holding up the flag of it'll eventually get better, guys. Just hang on. That is obtuse because that is the immediate first thing they all go to. And I don't know. I know people who want to play this game and they can't because their computers are too weak. And a lot of that boils down to the fact that they actually do have decent systems, like a bit old, a bit weak by modern standards, but they do actually have generally decent systems. And they can't play it. They can't play this game because so much will just hit on the CPU and it'll just hit on a few, and it just seems to hit a few cores, cap out at 10 frames, and that's it. And the GPU is sitting there idle. There's just so much weird. And there's been so many lag spikes, and there are cases of people just creating mesh colliders where it doesn't need to be mesh colliders just to troll people. Because whenever you touch a mesh collider, if you touch a mesh collider that has a high poly count and a high face count, what the game actually does is it calculates if you're touching both the front face and the back face for all of the faces, and odds are you're touching quite a lot of faces if it's a very high poly count. That is why your avatar tends to actually be some optimizations in place to simplify the colliders. For a lot of people, it's just a few very basic colliders, like a capsule collider, or a few just simple box colliders, or even a few sphere colliders, and that's it. And the reason why it's not a mesh collider is because you run terribly. And if anyone hits off you, they'll lag out. They'll have a little lag spike. And you can see that quite coolly if you look, I'm going on a bit of a rant now, and I don't want to go on a rant on just mesh colliders versus like primitive colliders because that's a pointless rant. I just want to say that I don't want to take a promise as it will get better in time as fact, because we were promised performance already and we're still like waiting for the company to get what it wants first. we have to listen. We have to listen to like fanboys claim, "Oh, Patreon is just donations. It's not actual like payment for its development." When I've talked to many people who've given Resonite quite a bit of money to help its development. Go to the exit screen. I'm going to go to the exit screen right now. All right, exit. Boom. There you go. People who have given quite a bit of money to Resonite. To get your name here in blue, you have to give it a good decent chunk of change. Like way too much money. Especially at the absolute beginning. You know, before the launch, in the pre-launch era as it's called. Um a lot of people signed up very fast and the number was visible, and before the game even came out, there was, I think, oh, if I remember right, something in the first like day or two of Yellow Dog Man at Patreon appearing, people were giving it, I think, $1,500-ish, something along those lines. Anyway, and there wasn't even a product. There was nothing released for an unknown amount. There was nothing even saying, "Here is the date something will actually come out." It was just suddenly there was a movement and people started throwing money at it to help its development and help it along and encourage the developers. And the response has been this. This is the return. I'm sorry. It's just. It's very disappointing. Well, I think that is a good conclusion to leave off this video on. It's a bit of a rant. I'm probably going to get a bit of hate. I'm probably going to have a lot of people trying to quote unquote correct me in the comments, saying all sorts of random rubbish. Just don't be completely obtuse. I'm trying to just say why I am so mad at it, and there's just so much weirdness in the development cycle, and there's so many like paid positive videos out there talking about, oh, isn't it wonderful, oh, isn't it the next big thing, oh, isn't it the VR chat color. And it feels so horribly imbalanced. And yeah, you've had your positive videos. Now look, here's one just being a bit critical and voicing general unhappiness. Okay, as I was getting the last of the video together for publishing, they pushed out an update to the animation system to hopefully look more smooth and a bit more natural. I had a bit of a play around with it. Off camera, it does look a bit better, but it still has some room, quite a bit of room to improve. And let's just have a quick look at it before we're closing out, because the promise is it'll get better in future. Let's just see how much better it has gotten now that some time has gone by. Let's have a quick look. So we begin with the side profile, and what we have is we see that the raptor arms have been fixed, at least while standing still. They still present themselves while running and walking. But while standing still, the stance looks a bit better. The breathing looks still a bit Deus Ex, but it's alright. I would still turn it off if I had a choice. But it is kind of it does look okay, at least at first glance. So now we begin the part where the walking animations, well, where the procedural animations really start breaking down is the walking. So start the usual left and right, and you can see the legs are still a bit weird. The arms are looking like they're attached to the body with a gimbal rather than being part of the body. At least to me, they do. And every now and again, you just go around playing the accordion. Yeah. And I'm going to start going forward. For that brief moment, your character's arms tend to just kind of flail backwards. Just like they're not. It's like they're just not attached. So I get a bit of a distance again from the tower. Da-da-da. Yeah, still does this if you change direction just right. Yeah. Yeah. Right, have a right. Yeah, if you have a quick look at the arms, as soon as you push to move, your arms kind of lag back like they're not attached, and then they're realizing, oh, we're walking. Let's go do our walking animation rather than looking more attached. Um, the avatar's weird foot stomping thing is still a problem that I don't like. Again, I'd like to turn it off. But it does look it does look like a bit of a step forward in the right direction, though. Yeah, it still has some room to get a bit better. But you can tell by the stance of this avatar that it's not quite, it doesn't quite have humanoid legs. So what we're going to do is switch over to the previously used Ybot to have a quick look at it. And here we are in the Ybot, and all the same. So run forward. The legs are weird, but I just want to show you the arms. So we're going to look at the arms first, then go to the legs. So it's like he doesn't want to be looked at. Okay, so we start walking forward, and again, same thing. Arms kind of flail back a bit until they realize, oh, you're walking. Let's do the walking animation. It is very distracting having the avatar's head turn left and right while moving around or while standing still. It's kind of annoying. But you can see the legs. At least here it looks okay. And if you do a running jump, the avatar's kind of, it does this leap animation that looks pretty good. A bit flamboyant, but pretty good. That would have been a nice change in and of itself. But you can see the stance is still a bit strange. The legs are still bent, and I promised about the raptor arms. We'll have a quick look at them. So if I can get a sideways profile while walking, your character just tends to hold their arms at a 90-degree angle while just walking. And this is running, this is walking. This looks more like a running animation, at least to me. Yeah. There's a bit of an issue I notice from time to time where walking straight like this, your avatar will like look to a side and then the body will start following it, so then the body will start twisting, so you will be like right now, right? Yeah, this happening, but mildly, where the hips are just twisting off in a direction I don't quite understand why. Like here it is a bit more blatantly. Like I don't have my hand on my mouse. I don't understand how this is a thing. But it doesn't have the weird spider legs. Not as bad anyway. They are looking a bit better. So it is generally a good improvement. Now, as previously mentioned, this is for a business. Businesses might use a human avatar of some kind, so that's what we're going to use. This is from the Resonite Essentials folder, the Microsoft Rocket Box. I just picked a random one out of it. This is what I picked. This isn't. Yeah, this isn't quite how people walk. I'm just gonna say this isn't quite how people walk. And if you do a bit circle, and if you start doing left and right, just right, and your character's legs start doing this, and they cross, and they do all sorts of things. It's better, but I think my previous statement still holds true. While it is better, I would still like to turn it off. At least for now. If it actually gets to a point where it's worth investing time into, I might do it into like put that time into my main avatar and leave it off for the rest, and that'll just suit me just fine. Okay. I think that's a decent enough place now to leave off. Yeah, remember, 300 dislikes, and I make a ref hacking tutorial.